My friends are my power. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
What up, nerds? Welcome back to Nerdsplosion, the weekly podcast where based on the monthly theme, we nerd out about whatever we want. I am Cameron.
Bienvenue, Power Bottoms.
Mochi, why are you licking my computer?
We have had a very stressful day. Let him do whatever he wants.
Like, he's literally, all I see is just his nose popping up from behind my screen of just him licking the back of my computer. Oh my god, yeah, anyway, it's been a day, let me tell you.
We took our cat to the vet.
Dorian, the old one, not Mochi, the young chaotic one.
And I was for sure 100% sure we were going to have to put him down. Turns out I may have overreacted.
May have.
And it could just be a respiratory infection. But what had happened was he lost 90% of his body weight in like a month. And he was matting really bad, and he was like, hair was falling off of him in clumps, and I was brushing him every day and it wasn't helping. But he's home now. He's on a antibiotic injection, and it already seems to be helping. He's already I was calling him G-Weezy because every time he purred, he sounded like he was trying to choke on air. And now it doesn't sound as bad. So the vet thinks he's in pretty good health otherwise, and we're just waiting on some blood work results, and our teeny beanie boy is home.
Today's episode, we are continuing our Unsolved Mysteries theme by covering something that was a little upsetty spaghetti that wasn't covered in a previous episode we did about video game mysteries, and I decided it would be a good topic for today's episode.
Yes. That
being, I hope you guys are filled with determination, because this episode is about unsolved mysteries in Undertale. Because there's a lot of mystery surrounding the game, and I know a lot of people like to dive in, and I guarantee us talking about a lot of these, people are going to see it and be like, well, actually, it's because of this. We're like, whatever. We like talking about it.
I was about to actually. You're actually.
It's our podcast, god damn it.
We can do whatever we want.
So, new episodes of this podcast come out every Saturday. Do all the things that do all the stuff. But let's just dive right in, shall we? Let's just get straight into it. Alright, let's do this right, because Kate fucked up and I had to re-record everything.
Okay.
So, I got a couple things here from, I got a thing from Undertale Fandom Wiki, and also another article about a whole mystery itself. It's a whole article dedicated to one specific mystery, but I say we go through the wiki first, and the first one on here is from DJM Cordy, one that has been on my mind for a while. I was recently doing a neutral run, and after the hangout with Sans, I talked with some of the NPCs and Grobies, specifically the dialogue from the Red Bird and the Ugly Fish. They mentioned how Sans hasn't been to Grobies in a while. I really wish I wrote down the dialogue, but I forgot to. Anyone know why Sans might not be going to Grobies as often? I think my theory is that he's spending more of his time either A, following the player around, or B, teleporting between different, like, taking to your papyrus, talking to Toriel, and just all of that.
I think the more likely solution, or the more likely reason that he's not spending as much time at Grobies, is because he's plaguing Papyrus's life with incidental music.
Sans, stop plaguing my life with incidental music!
No, but realistically, I think the reason that he's not spending so much time at Grobies, and he kind of alludes to this a little bit when you talk to him at the Metaton restaurant or whatever, he kind of alludes to the fact that he's been essentially by your side the entire run through.
Yeah, keeping an eye on you, and that's why in the at the one part he does, the judgment. He judges you based on, your actions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly why he, if you do a genocide route, he knows what you've been doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's basically the god of that world. He's omnipresent.
Yeah. He's motherfucking Sans, let's be crystal clear.
Next one down here is from Obsessive Sadist. The inquiry looks like it needs a post of its own. There are actually a surprising amount of unanswered questions surrounding Undertale, spanning from WD Gaster to simply, what are the Timmies? I think we're all hoping for some answers from Deltarune, considering MatPat hasn't been much help, but who knows, maybe we'll be theorizing forever. P.S. Sans is totally Ness.
First of all, how dare you besmirch the good name of MatPat?
Yeah, and the whole WD Gaster thing, we'll get to that last, because that, like I said, that's the whole article in itself. But the Sans is Ness theory or mystery, whatever. I know a lot of these are fan theories, but, what is a fan theory if not an unsolved mystery?
To a point.
To a point. But the Sans is Ness whole thing is that Sans is somehow the character Ness from the Earthbound games. Which makes a lot of sense because Toby took a lot of inspiration from Earthbound to create Undertale.
Yes.
But a lot of people believe that Ness somehow died, whatever, but still remained a living skeleton and turned into Sans. And there's not really much, evidence on that besides a game theory video that was made, but a lot of people have criticized that video because there's a lot of logical stuff that doesn't make sense in that video, and a lot of things that are said by MatPat have no evidence to back it up.
Right.
And MatPat himself has even come out and said that episode was not great.
Yeah.
Because he basically has just admitted that was terrible.
Which it was, but also how dare you besmirch the good name of MatPat?
Another one down here from Grim Dark Vricolatus says, in the neutral route, after defeating Asgore for a second time, he says, somewhere in the outside world, there must be a way to free us from this prison. I wonder, could there have been a group/population of monsters that escaped from being trapped beneath Mount Ebbet after the war? Is this group hiding somewhere on the surface? I mean, I can't prove I'm right, but who's to say I'm wrong? So they're basically saying that there are monsters that already live on the surface.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they would have driven all the monsters underground.
Well, sure. And was it truly all the monsters underground, or was it just in that village?
From that village, yeah. For those who don't know what we're talking about, there's canonically a village that the human child of Asdor
child.
The child of Asdor and Toriel ended up dying in that, well, not dying in the village, died at Asdor's, the castle.
And it kind of implies that they did it on purpose.
What do you mean?
So it kind of, when you're watching the videotapes and you're kind of piecing together what happens.
Well, watching. It's a black screen with dialogue. Well,
when your character is watching the videotapes, it kind of implies that the human child purposely ingested something they knew would make them sick and or possibly be lethal to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because Asriel said, this isn't funny anymore, I don't want to do this plan. So, kind of feels like the child was trying to instigate something.
So, what you're saying is...
Or Kara, rather.
What you're saying is the first child might have intentionally started the war between monsters and humans.
Well,
very interesting.
Maybe not started, because it sounds like the human child fell into the underground after they were already underground.
Or maybe that's, well...
So I think the definitely reincited something, because Asriel because they had already absorbed. They already had. Or no, they didn't have human souls, because Azrael absorbed the child's soul, right, and went through the barrier. That was the whole thing. To bring
the child's body back to the village.
And the village people thought that Azrael had killed Kara.
You mean they stopped performing YMCA to worry about the dead child?
I'm glad you think you're funny.
YMCA.
But
young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man.
I can't work in these conditions. But that's something I've been thinking about for a while. Is I think the child. I keep saying the child, Kara. Canonically, the first child that fell is Kara, but I think Kara hated his. Yeah.
Is it the actual thing that it's canonically named Kara, or is it canonically just whatever you name it?
I think canonically the first fallen human is Kara.
Because the thing with Undertale, like, you're not actually, spoilers by the way, if anybody hasn't played it, you're not actually naming like the current child, you're naming the first child that fell. Because the character you play as is Frisk. But the name you give it is the name of the original child that fell before you.
Yes. But canonically, the first child is Kara, because if you play the genocide run, eventually you just become Kara.
Well, you don't really become Kara. Kara kind of becomes their own entity.
Well, right, but Azrael made no secret, and Azrael said it as clear as day that Kara hated humanity. So I think that's why when you put those pieces together, it kind of seems like they did it on purpose. Because they knew they weren't going to survive.
They wanted to keep that tension between monsters and humans.
Yeah, because they knew that if they didn't survive, Azrael, having the heart of gold that he did, would want you to be buried on the flowers that you loved so much in your village. But they also knew that by Azrael carrying your dead body back into the village, the humans would automatically assume the worst and attack. And then I don't know if they predicted as far as Azrael dying too, but the fact that he was attacked alone would have sent Asgore over the edge.
Yeah, because Azrael, like, he didn't even fight. Yeah, it's told that he didn't even fight back. He just set the child's body down, the humans attacked him, and he just smiled and walked away.
Yeah.
Later died right in front of Asgore and Toriel.
Which accomplished exactly what it was supposed to.
Yeah, exactly, because Asgore and Toriel got all, obviously in their grief decided, you know what, fuck the humans, we're going to create a barrier so that they can't get to us anymore, they can't take away more than they already have taken away.
Which, honestly,
they 100% blame the humans for taking away both their children.
And honestly,
even though one of their children was a human.
So fair.
I mean, valid.
Fuck humanity, for real. Anyway, I know that's not really an unsolved mystery, but it got me thinking.
Let's see, another one down here is from a Lily Blossom. I keep wondering about the little house in Snowden Forest.
Bro, in my head, rent free. Why won't you answer the door?
No, not that one.
Oh, which one?
So it's by that same entrance.
Yeah.
But when you go to the edge of it, you look out into like the forest, like in the background. There's a little house down there.
Oh, yeah.
And if you wait around long enough, there's a little stick figure that comes out, walks around, and then goes back in.
And then sometimes the lights are on, sometimes they're off.
I think they're always on, but yeah, it's always if you wait there, a little guy will come out and walk around and go back in.
Well, that's simple. It's just a little guy.
It's just a little guy.
It's just a little guy.
Yeah, don't you know? It's just a little guy. Toby Fox told me himself. Is that for real? Yeah, he told me.
Yeah, he told me. He said it's just a little guy.
My uncle works for Nintendo.
My dad works for Nintendo. I don't think my father, the inventor of the toaster strudel, would be super pleased to hear about this.
That's all here because the last one in this wiki just says the spoon.
The spoon?
I have no idea what that means. So
no, I want to know the cheese.
The It's the fucking... Excuse me?
Expound. Is the mouse ever going to get the cheese?
Actually, you know what I found out about that?
Oh, there's an answer to that?
When you go back through, like, after the true pacifist, you know, when everybody wakes you up and they're like, oh, Frisk, are you okay? And then you're able to travel all the way back through.
Yeah.
If you go to each of those cheese things, it'll say something about them being like a little nibble out of the cheese.
Aw.
So it is actually canonically proven in the true pacifist ending
The mouse
that the
does
mouse
get the
indeed
cheese?
get to the cheese.
Good, because that mouse, some of them mice had to go through some fucking trials and
No,
tribulations.
I haven't
to get
actually
that
seen
cheese.
it, but like playing back through it, like I actually found one of those by accident because I was like, I wonder. So I gotta go back through and replay it and try to figure out, you know, if all the other cheese tables have the same type of dialogue. The last unsolved mystery from Undertale that I want to talk about that has its own article dedicated to it from Kotaku.
W.D. Gaster.
Yes. So, skipping a little ahead in this article, who is W.D. Gaster?
Man, I want to play Undertale.
If you play Undertale normally, you won't encounter any direct references to Gaster. Players have found what they think to be hints at his existence in-game, most notoriously from the hooded figure who captains Undertale's fast travel boat, and also in skeleton character Sans' weapon, the Gaster Blaster. But they've mostly unearthed information about Gaster by data mining the game's code. Nobody's entirely sure who Gaster is, but dialogue from a handful of creepy gray NPCs you can only encounter by plucking their areas of the game, or rooms, from the game's code seems to suggest that he was a skeleton scientist conducting experiments involving space and time. It makes sense he'd be studying those forces, given that the story of Undertale came about due to characters, the player included, with time-warping abilities called Save and Load. And I like they put in parentheses, yes, that's actually part of Undertale's plot. It's super meta, but in a surprising, non-cloying way. In the process, apparently Gaster created a legendary invention only to fall into it and die.
I was looking him up because you said he was a skeleton scientist, and I was like, I did not get skeleton from him. But then I looked at the picture, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah, because one of the random events that can happen while playing through the game is you end up in a hallway with a white door. And it's like very random. It's like a 1 in 100 chance or something. But you go through this door and there's a small room and with like a skeleton looking figure in the middle. And a lot of people believe that to be W.D. Gaster. Actually, there's another secret too, because there's a lot of different random events that can happen in Undertale. One of them being when you go to a certain room, instead of it being that room, you'll come to a sound test. But there'll be a ton of different wacky soundtracks. Are you discovering something over there?
Well, I guess not rediscovering, I suppose. W.D. Gaster is a shrouded character. You just read this.
I literally just read that.
He's credited. I guess I forgot that he was credited with creating the core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I was saying,
because this is the wiki.
Like I was saying.
Sorry, continue.
God damn it! Now I lost track of what I was saying. Oh yeah, there's a room you can come across randomly, like very randomly, which is basically a sound test room. And it has a bunch of different wacky little tracks that I'm sure Toby Fox created. But there's also a track in there called Gaster's Theme. And when you select it, you can't select any other track. And you just basically have to let it play out before you can exit out. And this is what that track sounds like. yeah, that shit is my ringtone. So going back to the gray NPCs that they mentioned, or the Gaster followers, as people like to call them, one of them actually kind of tells us the story of Gaster a little bit. They're quoted as saying, I understand why Asdor waited so long to hire a new royal scientist. The previous one, Dr. Gaster, his brilliance was irreplaceable. However, his life was cut short. One day, his experiments went wrong and, well, I needn't gossip. After all, it's rude to talk about someone who's listening.
Yeah, I would hate that.
This led players to speculate that Gaster's very being was spread, like a painfully small dollop of butter on toast, across space and time in what the fuck word did they try to say here? Infinitesimally small quantities. Okay, thanks, Kotaku. Gaster is nowhere. Gaster is everywhere. The potential ramifications are huge. Did Gaster's experiments set the entire plot of Undertale in motion? Is he watching as the game story unfolds, perhaps even pulling the strings? Things get stranger from there. Players have uncovered a secret sound test room that includes a track called Gaster's Theme, which I just did. It sounds like the music that played in a slasher flick the first time you get a good look at the villain's gnarled, sickly features. Also, if you try to name your character Gaster when you start the game, it just boots you back to the intro video, forcing you to start over. Gaster's power supersedes even the players before the game even properly begins. This in a game where the player is an all-powerful save/load time wizard. The rest is downright spooky. For instance, players discovered that if they changed the room number in 2 key files, instead of wingdings, yes, the bizarre symbolic font you discovered as a kid in Microsoft Word and spent 15 whole minutes tackling at, you never thought about it again until now, appears. Translated out of batshit, they read,
Entry number 17. Dark, darker, yet darker. The darkness keeps growing. The shadows cutting deeper. Photon readings negative. The next experiment seems very, very interesting. What do you two think?
Thanks, I hate it.
For this, we did a couple things. 1. Entry 17 is normally a missing entry in the True Lab, a location in Undertale's pacifist playthrough where bumbling scientist Alphys goes to try and set things right. Bumbling scientist Alphys. Odds are Gaster made that entry back when the lab was his. 2. The message is in Wingdings, a choice that reeks of strangeness for strangeness' sake until you consider Gaster's initials, WD.
Which does, I'm going to interject, does fall in line with Sans and Papyrus, because Sans, Comic Sans, and Papyrus, Wingding, also a font. And also, that ties into what you were saying, because I would guess that the what do you two think, the two he would be referencing would be Sans and Papyrus. Oh, I was going to say Sans and Papyrus, but Sans and Alphys makes sense too.
Because if Alphys took over as royal scientist for Gaster, then that means that Alphys must have been an assistant. Like, Alphys would have been involved.
Yeah.
Or it could be...
because what I want to know...
It could be Sans and Papyrus too, because I have watched a fan comic.
Yeah.
Like a dub of a fan comic on YouTube. That shows Gaster kind of raising Sans and Papyrus.
Because here's the thing, Toby Fox doesn't do anything accidentally. So the fact that W.D. Gaster is a skeleton, and then there are only 2 other skeletons in the game, the 3 of them have to be connected.
Yeah.
That was the end of my thought.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just going through and, like, I was trying to figure out more of this article, like, what more they go into. But I think the only other thing I can think of about Gaster is that, like, when they mentioned that thing, that popped up, like, the Wingdings, and it translates to entry number 17, there's some, like, ambient stuff that plays in the background, and it sounds like a really, like, glitchy mess of stuff. And you can also find that secret in Deltarune. Because there's a secret, like, door you can find in the middle of the woods that when you interact with it, it plays that same glitchy sound.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that in the universes of both Undertale and Deltarune, Gaster is at play somehow. Which makes sense because the Deltarune universe has all like the same characters as Undertale, but it's obviously, and that's a whole mystery in itself too. We could touch on that a little bit too, because Deltarune is either a different universe or it's a different timeline. My vote is for a different timeline.
Yeah, I don't think it's a different universe because it's all of the same characters.
It's all the same characters,
but they're doing different things, and some of them don't know each other. So yeah, I think it's a different timeline for sure. But Toby Fox has said that they're not connected.
Well, yeah, because in the Deltarune universe, like Undyne and Alphys don't even know each other.
Yeah. But I do find it interesting that Asgore and Toriel still are not together.
They were, but are no longer.
Yeah. So that stayed the same. And Sans and Papyrus are still siblings.
In every timeline, Asgore is still a chup.
Every timeline, motherfucker can't catch a break. Poor bastard.
No, speaking on that, like, there's gotta be something that's gonna connect them all together. Somehow.
Not necessarily.
Like, there could be a thing. If it's a different timeline, there's got to be some connecting thing.
When is the next chapter of Deltarune supposed to come out?
Hopefully this year, because Toby Fox keeps saying that, like, it's pretty much done. Last I heard Toby Fox say anything about it, he said that it's pretty much done. They just got to work on, like, localization.
Okay, sick, because I don't want to play it, but I am curious to watch other people play it.
I think you should play Deltarune. You should give it a shot.
Oh, fine, twist my arm.
Hey, I'm trying to get you to play more than one video game.
I play 2. Thank you very much.
What? Undertale and Astro's Playroom?
I play Zelda.
When was the last time you played Zelda?
I played at my parents' house.
How long ago was that?
Don't worry about it. 15 years or more. Oh God, I'm old. Ugh.
But I guess anyway, any other unsolved mysteries around Undertale you want to talk about?
No, my biggest one was Gaster because I could
tailspin
about that.
That's the biggest one, and one I'm sure you can find a million YouTube videos on,
which I'm about to go do.
Oh my God. But no, Undertale is a mysterious game, and, you know, I would definitely recommend you guys play it. I believe it's still cheap enough, and then by now it's available on, like, every single platform.
And
PC, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox.
It has, like, a really good... the storytelling is amazing. It's very cutesy. It's very... I just love it. I mean, I have 3 tattoos of it, so...
Yeah, just give it a shot. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but I can definitely tell you that it's our thing.
Just know if you don't like it, I'm coming for your kneecaps.
Better hide your kneecaps.
I'm all graying.
What are you doing in my waters? Alright, I think with that, we're gonna call this episode to a close. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry, this episode seemed kind of weird. Like we said, it's been a weird day. Been a really weird day.
It's been an emotional roller coaster for sure. So much so that I want to either lay in bed and watch true crime or lay in bed and binge read the last book in my trilogy.
But whatever you're doing out there, hope you guys are, doing positive things, making a positive impact on your life. Treat each other nice. And I swear to God, if you don't, like I said, I'm going to talk to your grandma. I have her number.
I'm coming for your butt shoe and I'm pissing in them, buddy.
I've been Cameron.
I've been Kate.
And we'll see you in the next one. Nerds out.
Peace out, power bottoms.
Good one.
Thanks.